luxury of time, and I'm a kind of a person who'll go on.
Okay, recording started.
So Puneet, please speak.
Yes, Stephen, we can see your screen.
Um, yes. So I prefer that to be an interactive. So feel free to stop me wherever you would like to add your insights or you have any question. All right. So before I jump into this topic, I would like to. I'm sure everyone has some questions from their own background, um, and I would like to hear from those who are already working for a financial domain. Feel free to share your thoughts. I don't know why my slides are not moving. Okay. All right. So I would like to give a little bit of background about the financial domain uh, and from more from the eyes of how Broadridge Financial Solutions work. I think this will put us everyone on a common ground, a common understanding about what, where we will be heading for the next few minutes. So about Broadridge, Broadridge Financial Solutions um, was a way back in 1996. It all started with the company named D.E. Shaw. Anyone who heard D.E. Shaw or saw D.E. Shaw somewhere in Begumpet? There's a building of D.E. Shaw. There's one in Jubilee Hills as well. I'm sure you might have come across while you were going through that street. D. Shaw was the first company who started its services and solutions for capital market in 1996, and then it was acquisited by a company named Wilco. I think you might have also heard Wilco. And Wilco and ADP started their services, and then they tied up with ADP. Now, you might have also heard of ADP. ADP was definitely it's an US firm. It's a US company which started in 1962 by Rich Daley, and they predominantly serve the financial industry pertaining to the international market. They provide they compute data of all the transactions that happen in a trade market, right? Just help these brokerage firms, investment banking, with the data which they can use and communicate with their investors. I'll take an example here. Let's say you have a saving account in your local bank, right? And you would like to have your statements about all the transactions that you do with the bank and with those whom you share or move the money, right? Uh, so how powers these bankers? How do they keep this data? How do they compute the data? They need some kind of an engine that should be able to formulate the data, because even one paisa here and there is going to make a lot of difference to us, right? Even if I look at there's some glitch in the numbers, I lose my trust with the bank, right? So accuracy is one of the cornerstones of these solutions, and we cannot make a single error in what we do and what we compute for these financial institutions. So so that's how ADP Wilco has started, and then ADP Wilco joined hands with Broadridge International, and then in 1995 they have represented themselves as ADP Private Limited in India. They started their offices, and then in and in 2007 they had a major spin-off within the business, where they called off Broadridge as a separate entity or a separate business with ADP because of some client risks they have seen, where there's a lot of confidential data about about our clients and their customers. So they took a decision to spin off Broadridge from ADP. and then and from then Broadridge Financial Solutions started in 2007, and it's going on. We are growing in numbers in terms of associates and in terms of clients and business. As you know, we are globally. Let me share my next slide. So we are located in multiple geographically. We are expanded across the globe. The reason being that our offices work closely with those markets where we have the major business running around investment banking and stock market. So we make sure that we are approachable to our clients. We walk into their offices, understand their business, what kind of services they provide, and what kind of a solution they're looking at. So we are spread across the globe. But there's one question everyone has is that, do we also support the trade market in India? So the answer is no. We only cater to the international market. And when this question was asked, the answer was simple. They say it's Indian rupee versus a dollar. Okay. All right. So moving to next slide. I do not want to spend much time here, because this is again sharing a lot of insight about Broadridge. Now, I think it's also important for us to understand what kind of products and services we provide, and these are the various verticals where we help our clients provided with some kind of investor communication, which help them enable their customers know about their transactions, know about where they're putting their money, where it is going, what kind of market is there right now, and where they should be putting their money. So we help them with analytics. We help them with providing the data, where they're investing, and it caters to various forms of financial securities we are looking at. For example, if you are spending your money in a housing loan, right? So there's a different department for that. And if you are spending your money on some kind of fixed term deposit, there's a different department for it, right? So Broadridge offers products and services for the all kind of markets within the financial sector, be it banking or insurance. As you can see, there are a lot of services provided out there to the consumers, and for them to understand how they're spending and how much they expect in returns, what kind of liabilities will be there, and how the regulatories work. Everything is managed and controlled by the services provided by Broadridge. Now again, it might be kind of a bouncers for you, so I'll just move on to the very important slide that might help you understand whom do we serve importantly. So I would like to take some names, like for example, if you think about brokerage firms, these are some of the clients with whom we work, like Charles Schwab, Wells Fargo, TD Ameritrade. These are some of the top 10 brokerage firms in the world. If you're not heard, even when I joined Broadridge, I was also not aware of some of these brokerage firms. Similarly, investment banking, JP Morgan, HSBC, Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, Barclays. And in mortgage companies, we have Bank of America, again JP Morgan and Wells Fargo. So these are some of the major clients with whom we have a recurring business, and they use our product as a core engine to drive their business and make revenue for their organizations. And to better understand how this financial domain works, it's important that we also understand people who work or contribute within this financial institution. So as a technical writer, what I'm trying to emphasize here is that it's very important for us to understand what are the different roles or what are different people are employed in the various departments of a financial institution. Let's take an example of Wells Fargo, right? So Wells Fargo as a financial institution, how it is classified or how it functions within in itself, and how they work together towards running the business for their clients. And we can divide it in a very simple terms as front office, middle office, and back office. I think this is one thing that we can all remember about whenever you think about any, be it a bank, or it could be a brokerage firm, or any company related to financial domain. One thing you can always remember is these three terms: the front office, middle office, and the back office. So the front office, I will give an example. Like you walk into a bank, right? You see there's a person to assist you, and there are a lot of clerks and bankers who are there for your service, help you with information that you require related to your account, right? So that is your, let's say that is your front office, right? And if you consider a brokerage firm or investment banking, the front office is usually uh, consists of brokers or dealers who make this cold calling to all the clients, or they receive calls from their clients, asking about to put their money into a certain stock, or trade their money with the current market and how it is, where it is growing and where they should be investing their money. So the front office involve like you can consider the bankers, clerks, broker dealers, who actually deal with the actual clients, and it's a very challenging role for them because they have to sell something. They also have to make certain decisions for the on behalf of the clients, so that they make more commission, or they make more revenue, because every transaction that happens, the bank or that institution earns commission, earns revenue for every transaction. So more you do the transactions, the more they make the revenue, right? And here, if you look at some of these names, these are the different technologies they use in order to populate client data, perform those trades, and help their clients to actually use these portals as well, because not just that the front office is all about the clerks and the brokers, but it is also the customers. Like for example, us, we have a net banking, where we log in and we actually take a look at our accounts and we make certain transactions. So the front office also includes portals where it enables the investors to log in and performs buy and sell. So I'm sure some of you guys might also be doing some kind of investments. So I'm sure you understand what it how these portals work. All right, and then the second segment is the middle office. The middle office is more like a middle, as the name says. It's a middle person between the front and the back office, where the middle office ensures that all the regulatories of this particular market, they ensure that they keep updating the policies, they keep updating the regulatories that they need to follow. For example, you are performing a transaction, like let's say you're depositing a check. So what are the details that you need to make sure that you need to provide in that slip, right? For example, your name, your account number, your mobile number, the denomination, or from whom the check is coming from, which branch, what is the IFSC code, and so on, right? So this middle office define these parameters and how the front office should function, and they keep upgrading the system to make sure that the front office is working smoothly without any problem. At the same time, they need to also make sure that they comply with the regulatories set by the federal law. So actually, these financial institutes have to abide to the federal laws, and for that, their system has to have some kind of a the methodology where the system will validate the inputs provided within the system, and it ensures that you are complying with the regulatories which are they evolve, they keep updating these regulations, and the middle office is responsible for ensuring they're up to date. At the same time, the middle office also runs a lot of analytics to see where the money is coming from, where they're making the revenue, whether they're making a lot of money from mortgage, whether they're making money from the long-term deposits, or they're making revenue from the retirement, or the insurance. And then they kind of, work with the front office to make sure that they ensure that they don't get into some kind of a risk where it might hinder the future of this financial institution. So middle office does analytics and help front office drive and make sustain the business for the organization. And the back office are the ones who perform all the data computing, um, all kind of things. For example, clearance and settlements. Sometimes the back and middle office they kind of connect. They sometimes middle office also functions as back office. Sometimes the middle office is more exclusive. Overall, the back office deals with uh, any new entries that need to be made in the system. For example, a new stock has come into the market. So the back office is responsible for adding that new stock into the system. Like for example, you want to create a new account in a bank, right? So the back office is the one who takes care of creating your account, linking your account with the bank, and making sure that you have all the details and all the proofs submitted as per the RBI guidelines, right? So the back office not just also create entries, but it also ensures that it's complying with the with all the regulatories, and they also perform all the transactions which are being initiated by the front office. For example, there's a fund transfer, right? So the back office, it goes to the back office, and they actually run the clearance and settlements for all the transactions requested by front office. And the back office is the core of the business. It carries all the data of the client. It carries all the mechanism which will help generate reports as well. Like for example, you want to know how many transactions have been conducted in a day, how many have been cleared, how many have been settled. All those details, all those reports and logs are maintained by the back office, and they use all these different technologies to ensure that they keep the system always up to date and accurate. I mean, I can keep talking a lot, but I just want you to have some key takeaways from what we have to basically understand by how a financial institution works. Any questions? All right. All right. Any questions? All right. Okay. So let's come back to the ground, uh, to our domain, that is documentation.
Hello. Stephen, I had one question. So whatever you have said about these technologies, so one of them will be useful, right? So like back office has certain technology. So this is like a general idea, and it varies from the various different financial market. But most of these products, what I see, like I've not heard any of them. So it's like
Yeah. So you might not have also heard about Broadridge. The reason being,
So these
they
are
all
not product. You want to say?
no. So they're just like Broadridge. So Broadridge is like we are trying to cater to the entire market. So we are acquiring a lot of companies where we can cater business for all these front office, middle office, and back office requirements. But these are the different companies and the technologies actually which are used by these offices to run their business. Their day-to-day activities,
Yeah.
right? So and they don't use all of them, as you said rightly. They use some of these technologies to maintain the records or run transactions, run analytics and all that. Yeah, you're right. So you can say Broadridge is also one of those solution providers, and we cater to all these three segments of the organization. We have portals which lets investors log in. We have portals for the brokers to quickly look up for an account, quickly look up for a trade, quickly buy it, and place an order, right? So we have portals for that. We have applications for the middle office to for perform those transactions, and also for the back office. So the back office actually is more like a back end. It doesn't have more. It's not like a UI, but it's more a back end back engine, uh, which is for Broadridge we run on mainframes because that's a very highly secured tech platform. So all our data resides in that mainframe system, and someone has to have access to that systems to make entries or look up for information. So based on the confidentiality and how they want to align their business, sometimes usually the back office is a separate entity. They work very separately and differently from the front and the middle office. In other words, the back office never confronts the customer. They never talk to the customer. They don't face them. Similarly, they don't much face the middle office as well. Their job is to take all the inputs and and keep adding those new entries and keep the system up to date. I mean, I'm trying to be very generic. I don't want to sound too techy where you guys might find it difficult to relate or understand.
No, Stephen, I think this is a pretty good flow for people to understand that domain knowledge will not come just by reading some articles. Domain knowledge is basically hiding in all these data where you must understand company's business. When we talk about user personas, so like you are explaining about different level of users. So for which users you're writing all these, I think that's very important. Thanks, Stephen. Go ahead, please.
All right. So now let's talk about the documentation that we provide for these various roles who play their part in these different offices. If you look at the front office, as I said, the front office are contain the UI, and they actually pull data from the back engine, and they perform certain transactions. They need user guides to understand the navigation, to understand where they should go and perform certain activity. So we write user guides for these front office products, and then we also write release notes for them. So release notes help them understand whether any changes in the UI, whether any updates or or changes that have major changes that has happened in the UI. So they are communicated through release notes. Similarly, for the middle office, since the middle office cater to the process, so for them the important aspect is when they get these new orders from the front office, how the middle office ensures that they review those inputs. They make sure that uh, that the documents provided by the front office are appropriate, and they comply with the regulatories. So for that they need to understand how the system works. They need to understand the process about where they should go and validate, and and where they should push this data if there are any exceptions, which department they should push that request to, and they need to also understand how the overall system works. Well, if you ask me, there won't be too many changes in this process, as this institute is very old. This particular market is 100 years old. So usually there won't be any big changes in the system. They don't revamp what they already have. But there will be small changes in the regulatories. For example, the federal law will say that there is some change in the interest rate. There is some change in the term of the policy, right? These kind of changes are to be looked into by the middle office, and they also need to make sure that they also go and check these what you call them as the federal system also has an application where the middle office will go and they have login to that system. They log in into the system and they see whether what is the current rate in the market today, and they take that rate and they update that in the system. So the middle office job is to make sure that they constantly check with what is the industry norm and make sure they follow the process and ensure that they process the transaction according to the standards. Similarly, the global processing. So these are the two different guides that we maintain for the middle office, end users who want to understand how the business runs behind. And the back office, as I already mentioned about the back office, since they don't really deal with the actual users, and as they don't even perform certain transactions, they are more to understand how to make new entries into the system, for which they need reference guides, or in other words, we call it as data dictionaries. So we provide them certain syntax, and we provide them certain validations in terms of what value they should input in some of these fields. For example, they're entering a field called coupon date. So what should be the syntax of the coupon date, whether it is MMDDYYY or DDMMYYY, right? So we provide a data dictionary along with reference guides, which help them understand what and how they should enter the data. More importantly, how, because they already, some of these terms they already understand, but sometimes they need to ensure that they input it appropriately, because one of the biggest challenges they have is they have to do a lot of transactions, and back office is a very repetitive task. It's a very boring job for them, because they don't really do anything in terms of decision making, or it's more of data entry over there. So they do a lot of mistakes, and when they click OK or confirm, they are hit by a lot of errors, and for which they lean on the reference guides to understand what is the right syntax and the right value they should enter over there. And then the reports also helps them understand to validate whether they have created that particular items, and where they go and validate in the reports whether it is reflecting appropriately or not. So the reports are also good reference information for the back office. So these are the different basic set of documents that all that we can relate with our in general with the industry, and how we cater to these different types of user roles and their requirements. Apart from these guides, there are a lot of product specific guides that we provide, which vary from product to product, that I have not covered. So in a nutshell, we have close to 20 plus different types of documentation for each product, which are, again, a lot of them are product specific. All right, so quickly running into, I think I spent a lot of time in the basic understanding, so that we all can connect and start sharing your insights. You can relate with your industry as well. So let me talk about, as technical writers, what are the strengths we see, that where our organization looks up for TechCom, that we need technical communication to help provide these documentation, right? So the most important aspect is the client communication. Client communication is the key aspect of every product, without which they cannot even go for a release, right? So release documentation, be it notifications about the changes a client has to be appraised of all these new updates that go into the product, and that is very critical for our clients, be it the internal clients, so that they understand what changes have come and they go and give demos to the actual clients and walk them through the changes. Similarly, the reference information is key. As I just explained, whenever there's a problem with what to enter in a field, your reference information has to be up to date. So if there's any outdated information, you get escalated. You get mails from these clients asking for, you know, I'm not still getting through this screen. I need help, right? So reference information is key, and the product specific data is also very important for them. As I explained that they vary from product to product. Weakness. Well, as a writer, many a times you have very less control over the content. That means everything that is written or provided by you, it comes to you as not as a raw data, but it's a more of a legal content, right? You cannot just go about change the content and you end up interpreting the content in a wrong way. So it's very important for a writer, a writer coming from a very different background or coming from being a very creative writer or versatile writer. You find yourself challenging that you do not have much control over what you deliver, that you need to really understand or empathize on why they want to communicate the content in a certain way. For example, most of our raw data is passive. It goes on with 2-3 lines of content, which we don't usually exercise. We believe in minimalistic writing. We believe in writing in active voice. We believe in making it easier to read or understand, right? But here in this, some of the challenges that we see is that sometimes you have to keep the content as is, and maybe you only help and adding certain punctuations or making sure it is grammatically correct. But again, you do not have much control. We'll go back to this, what we can do about it. Okay. The second thing is handling process related changes. As I just explained about the system process guidelines, the global process guidelines, it is very difficult for you to update those process guidelines because you cannot just go and add a line saying that there's some change, but you need to actually read through the whole process and see how this small change is going to affect the entire topic, right? So for our writers, is one of the biggest challenges for you to make that change. You need to really understand the process. I mean, without which you cannot simply go and make changes in these process guidelines. And you need to rely a lot on the SMEs and BAs to help you understand how do you revisit the whole topic and make the small changes in those process guidelines. The third challenge is in terms of there's a lot of client specific data that goes to our clients. There's a lot of generic information and there's a lot of client specific. So the client specific data is something that we cannot provide, but as part of technical writing objective is that we have to be very close to our client situation, right? Our content should really help our clients fix their problems. But many a times we end up being more generalized, developing generalized content, and where the clients feel a little difficult to use our content and help themselves. So this is one of the challenges that we see as part of this domain, and we'll come back on how we can work through that. Opportunities are there are a lot, because in terms of how you deliver your content has a lot of opportunities. Whether you use chatbots or you make your doc site enabled with artificial intelligence, so that our clients, they keep getting updated with the latest information. They keep getting all those quick links where they usually refer information from, right? There's also opportunity for us to process automate some of our processes internally. For example, we pull a lot of data from our bug tracking tool. We dump that content into our our fixed reports or our release notes, and then we publish, right? We are actually automating that process so that we do not really have to spend our time in doing some of these manual processes and rather focus on something which is value driven. So there are opportunities for you to do that. And as I told you that we also have the front office UI, integrating our documentation with the front UI in the form of contextual help or embedded help or using chatbots as one of the ways that we can engage our audience and use our documentation as a central support for understanding the application. And then the knowledge base. I mean, one of the key importance of our documentation is our business analysts and our SMEs use our content as reference data, and they write their business requirement and functional requirement documents. So our documents not just helps our external clients, but also our internal SMEs and BAs to write their functional specifications. Then quickly I will run through some of these things about what are the questions that we should be asking ourselves now that we have looked into how the financial domain works and what are the different roles and what kind of documents we write and the challenges that we have seen. How do you prepare yourself and how do you equip yourself understanding this domain? Do you think you should really have expertise in this domain, or a knowledge of the domain should also help? And what is the importance of the writing skills that you already possess and how much they weigh versus the domain expertise that you should have? I think I'll leave these questions to the open discussion. I want to move that to the open discussions where we can further discuss with everybody since I'm running short of time. I also would like to talk about some of the myths. Like for example, you think that I can consistently follow the style guides? Not every time. As we just discussed, many a times we have to compromise on how the SME wants the content should look like. For example, here, if you look at like if you read this line, assigning an interested party such as trustee or fiduciary as a beneficial owner and / or control person for an entity. See, when you look at it, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't look like a sentence. It doesn't look like a proper understandable line, right? But some of the SMEs, they prefer you to keep the content as is because that is how they want their client to understand the system, right? So we had challenges with SMEs. We fought with SMEs, but they deny. Instead, they feel that we are not really understand this domain because we don't understand some of these terminologies. So they do not want us to change anything. There are two aspects here. Either they are not confident about we trying to edit this content, or they think this is how it exactly should sound when you put it to the client. Other myth, SMEs will always help me understand the concept. Not really. SMEs are always busy. They don't have time. They can't give you a time to sit you and help you understand. And they also believe that these things cannot be learned overnight, right? Peer reviews are one of the challenging aspects in our domain. Peer reviews are more limited to only punctuations and grammar and so on. Peer reviews cannot suggest writers that you can change the content like this. Why you're making a long sentence? Can you make it make it a shorter version? Remove a lot of this, lot of verbiage. Why keep it simple, right? So they can't suggest. They can only suggest on the grammar and things like that. But overall, they can't help on improving the quality or consistency in the drafts that you prepare. So how do we cater and how do we help ourselves, fit ourselves into this domain, and how as a writer we can involve in this industry? Some of the tips that I would like to share is definitely the BizTalk sessions. I'm sure even in your organizations you have BizTalk sessions which are conducted for your specific domain, where they talk about a lot of things that are happening in the industry. They share about some of the fundamentals of the domain. Like for example, we run a lot of BizTalk sessions where they speak about what is fixed income, who is a trustee, what is a trade, what is selling and buying, what is a security, right? So they conduct a lot of these BizTalk sessions to help us understand some of these basics. They also provide a lot of fundamental courses within the organization. These fundamental courses also help us understand generically about what is this industry is all about. The fundamental course doesn't teach you about the tool, but it actually helps you understand the aspects of the front, middle of the back office. Those fundamentals are taught in these courses. And then there are walkthrough sessions conducted by SMEs. We attend those sessions. We always ask the SMEs to provide those kind of sessions so that we understand the flow and the process, uh, that is there as part of the system. And we also encourage our writers to conduct walkthrough sessions. I think this is one of the ways you can learn and take feedback from the SMEs and the BAs, right? So we don't ask our writers to send the document to the BA and ask them to review, or send the document to the SME and do review. But we conduct sessions where we walk them through what we have written, how we understand how the user guide or how the process guide is written, how the change has been made, so that we take feedback from the SMEs and we further polish our understanding about the product. So this is one of the way we can understand, learn about the domain and our products. And definitely the industry forums are one of the places where you get to meet a lot of people and from the industry who share a lot of insights about the financial disruption that is happening right now, how the industry is moving ahead, digitization. These forums help you understand how we can use our technical writing tools and technology, and we also evolve with how the industry is evolving in the market, and how we cater to their the, how the technology and platform they are adopting. So this is some of the steps that I would suggest those who are looking forward to be a part of a financial domain. um, yep, i think I think taken I'm on time. I think I've crossed 10 minutes more. Sorry, Punit. You can take over here. Any questions, guys?